Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest indoor adventure in Tammeraut's Fate, Part 7, as part of our Ghosts of Saltmarsh game. Who's Tammeraut? Maybe we'll find out today. Today is February 13th, 2020, and you are loved. We aren't going to be playing a game tomorrow on Valentine's Day, but you are all our Valentines, so thank you for stopping by and joining us for this wonderful session. I would also like to say a huge shout out to our dear friend Mumbles KC, who gifted 5 subs to the channel before we ended up starting, so we are now at 40 subscribers on this channel, which is an all-time high. I really do appreciate it, because y'all people are gonna get me to Gen Con one way or the other, so hooray! Other than that, if this is your first time joining us on the stream, consider going to youtube.com/indooradventures, where you can gain access to our after show called Nights in the Courtyard. Or wait, no, that's not true at all. If you go to youtube.com/indooradventures, you get our VODs, but if you go to patreon.com/indooradventures, that's where you can gain access to our after show. We also have audiocasts that go up of each and every single one of our games wherever audiocasts are available for free, so consider going and checking that out. And of course, we also have a merch store where you can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, posters, throw pillows. The nunchucks are coming soon. But you can find all of that kind of stuff at indooradventure.redbubble.com. It's a good time. Other than that, I think that's it for my spiel. So, hey, Dingo, who are you playing tonight?
I'm Dingo, she, her, and I am playing Hish Sungard. That's his name. The half-orc fighter and dad.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Reeves, he, him, and I am playing Ulman Dark and the lovable Ham. We use he, him, or they, them.
Hi! I'm Connor. I'm playing Albus, the semi-hybrid sorcerer. He, him for both of us. I'm also very sleepy. Sorry.
Hi everyone, I'm KyleWithAnN. I'm playing Jilfa'en, reaping the consequences of what I sow, Lyrandar, the half-elf cleric. We both use she, her.
And I am the indoor adventurer, he, him, and tonight I shall be your dungeon master. So, last we left off, all of you had just gotten done with the village of Lethlung, Albus's old sleepy fishing village that he is the guardian of, and you all began to make your way south to the village of Uskarn. At this point, it was going to be a refueling stop to get a little bit more food, more water, more booze, that sort of thing, as you sailed continuously south towards the region known as where you were going to go to the city of Moran, which was Jill's home, as that is where the mysterious aboleth known as Skafka resided. As you were on your way, you encountered and weathered through a storm that Umberlee had actually thrown in your direction, and as a result, your ship was left in a state of disrepair. The mast had been broken. There were holes in your hull, and at one point the ship had actually attained a hole near the bilge where it began taking on water. With some quick thinking by Ulman and Jill with a combination of a control water spell, you were actually able to put a stop to the water being taken on, and Hish, you were able to save your ex-wife Talia from falling overboard and becoming a regrettable cleric of Umberlee herself. It was at that point, after everything had been saved and things were in the process of getting fixed, that Jill, you sat behind the ship's wheel of Oliver's Triumph, the ship that you had gained in the first chapter of this lovely adventure, and it was there that you angrily wrote within your black ledger about how the Isle of Evermeet would be forever protected against Umberlee's villainous sea bitch ways by instilling a large eldritch charm within the actual city itself. It was at that point, as you had asked Tharizdun for help, him being your deity, to make your ship repair itself as a living, breathing creature would. And Tharizdun, being the deity that they are, agreed to this in thanks for your help with the Isle of Evermeet. In doing so, the ship began to repair, and all of the wood actually turned into more of a fleshy-like texture. The entire ship itself then doing exactly as Jill had wanted, becoming a completely breathing and alive creature. And Albus, as you jumped off of the side of this vessel and swam to the front, opening up a mind link with this ship, you realized that it had a name, and that name was Triumph. It was at that point that the ship's maw opened, and that is where we left at the last session, is this large vessel, now a living creature. Yes, as Nefarious Obituary is described in chat, meat ship. It has opened its vacuous maw and is, at this point, the ship is actually moving steadily towards you, Albus, as you had tried to use some sort of magical ability against the creature that is your vessel, and it knows. Jill, you, Hish, and Ulman can feel your vessel move, and it seems to be moving steadily in the direction of where Albus had just jumped off the side of the ship. So, Albus, what would you like to do?
Can I run over to the side where Albus jumped off?
Yes, you most certainly can. And you see that from the front of your boat, that on the ship itself, the bow of it has actually split in a jagged tooth-like pattern, as part of it has actually separated itself. And you see now, also looking at the portholes that are located on the front bow of the ship, that these portholes look like eyes, and they are moving more than just looking like eyes. It seems like whatever your vessel was before, it has changed before you.
Can I see Albus?
I'll say yes for this.
I've got the little buoy on me.
The danger buoy.
What is the buoy?
That was
So,
Hish's Christmas
yeah.
gift.
Whenever I jump in the water, the buoy is just like over where I am. So,
Okay.
and I think it lights up. Does it light up? It lights up a little bit.
We
That's a
could
tree.
say it has a thin layer of like what is
Azurite?
it? Glow in the dark, like the glow in the dark texture. So it's just that like light greenish color to it.
Albus, are you all right?
I'm underwater.
I jump into the water.
Okay, Albus, what are you doing under the water as the ship is moving closer towards you? And looking inside of the ship's maw, you can see an impossible row of teeth going back into what looks like
too
inky
many
blackness.
So I figured out at this point that this is a pretty wide ship.
Possibly.
I'm still needed to make another wisdom save.
Okay.
Actually, I need everybody to make a wisdom save.
Well,
Bruh.
ship is a dummy in this situation.
I need everybody to make a wisdom save. All right.
Nice.
Wait, which side am I holding up? Is it the 16?
Sure.
25?
Okay.
16 plus 9?
Yeah.
Hish.
19.
19. Okay. Well, the ship at least is gonna calm the fuck down. Use calm emotions.
Okay. The maw that was once open, just taking in seawater, and you can see that there were fish that were trying to swim away have just receded into this open void, but the maw closes. and seals up, and it looks as if it is a front of bow that is made of this strange material.
I'm not going to charm you again. That was a bad idea. I didn't read this spell. Sure, there's a dragonborn in another dimension who's suffering from a nosebleed.
And the vessel looks at you with its two large eyes, and you hear back mentally, "It is all right. You were scared."
I don't want to be a part of this narrative anymore. And I'm going to start swinging up. Oh, Ulman. Hi.
Hi. So the ship.
Triumph.
Yeah. Okay. I hadn't quite gotten as far as trying to communicate, but
Well, that's its name.
Triumph. Interesting.
What's going on up there?
Like this,
I don't like this either.
but I think we haven't done our best either, and this is a side effect of that.
What?
We need to help Jill, but
I don't think I can.
I need to talk to her. Anyway, will you come back up with me?
Yes.
All right.
Meanwhile, on the deck of the ship, Hish, you and Jill are the only ones who didn't immediately jump overboard to the front of this demon vessel.
This is fine.
And there are the two of you are hearing what sounds almost like a continued like wooden groaning sound, and as you look at the sides of your ship, where normally there would be oars or any other kind of more like manpower propulsion device, it is actually growing what look like fins off to the side.
Yeah, I think Hish was standing, he had just come out of the captain's quarters, and he's looking around at the ship, and we see him sort of dart to one side in a brisk walk and dart to the other, and we can hear him going, "No, please, no, please, no." And he looks up. What does he see when he looks over at Jill?
She's still sitting. The journal's put away, but she's just kind of staring off into space. Not really. I guess her expression is very hard to read, but she's just kind of sitting there frozen.
Yeah, I think he calls out to her. Yeah, he does. He says, "Jilfa'en," and sort of motions with his hand for you to come over to him.
Yeah, I think she kind of snaps back to it. We'll get up and we'll walk over.
Your crew has no fucking clue what to do in this situation.
Yeah, I think while Jill is walking over, he turns to them and he goes, "Get back to work."
Yes, Captain. And they all just like very warily. There's a moment of hesitation when they get to the set of stairs that leads down into the belly of the ship, because they came from there when all of this was happening, but they're going to just go back to their stations and hope that things aren't weird.
I feel bad for them. But yeah, I think Hish gets impatient and he meets you halfway. And he's kind of looking at you with this, like, mouth agape, almost fearful look, and he says, What happened? Tell me this isn't real. This is an illusion, right?
I think she's gonna go and, like, I think put her hand on, like, the mast. What does it feel like?
Squishy.
It has... this is such an awkward question. Have you ever touched an elephant before? It is...
I can't say I have.
All right. I just had to ask in case it was like an experience at a zoo or something like that. But it is like a little squishy. It's definitely not like a solid wooded mast. But the texture that is around it is almost it's like a dried leather, but you can tell that this creature, whatever it is now, is alive. You can feel that there is some sort of energy that comes off of this vessel, where before it was just touching an inanimate object, but now it is like you are touching a thing.
Yeah, I think she'll, like, pull her hand back and be like, I'm sorry, Hish. I'm afraid that's not the case.
Did you do this?
I asked for it to be done. However, this was not what I expected to happen, to say the least.
Jill, I asked you to find the nearest port. What were you thinking?
I wanted to help fix the ship.
Is this funny to you, Jill?
No, it's not at all. I'm just... I didn't realize this would happen. That's all.
And as Jill says this, that is when the soaking forms of Albus and Ulman make their way back up to the deck, having had to climb the side of this behemoth.
I think, Jill, after you say that, Hish starts backing up until he hits the rail of the ship, and he sort of sinks until he's just sitting down, and he sort of pulls his knees up to rest his elbows on them. Can you put it back?
I could attempt. Although I'm not sure what will happen in that case either.
This is a God thing, right? You asked your God to do this.
Yeah.
I bet he thinks he's real funny.
I don't know what he thinks. I think that he thinks he's genuinely helping.
No. This isn't help.
Yeah, I see that.
You don't understand, Jill. I lost my home. I lost my job. And now I have no ship.
She doesn't say anything. She just hangs her head.
I have nothing. And Talia. What am I going to tell Talia? She's gonna take him. Jill, she's going to take my son and she'll leave. And she's right too.
No. Hish, this... Look, just tell her it was my fault.
It doesn't matter.
Put me on a dinghy and just leave me out at sea if that would make things better.
Jesus Christ, no, Jill. It's not gonna make things better. Don't.
Hish. Ulman looks over at you. I want you to look me in the eye.
Yeah, he does.
You have me. And I will do my best. Try my goddamn hardest. Even if it means buying you a new ship at the nearest port to make sure that you do not lose everything. And that includes the things you still have. And I won't stop until I see you restored completely. It's the least I can do for you giving it all up for me.
Ulman, I appreciate that, but I can't justify buying a new ship when we need a home. And Jesus, oh my God, this is all my fault.
Not even close. This was completely out of your control.
No, I should have worked something out in Saltmarsh. I should have had them stay. I should have worked on the repairs on the ship myself. I'm sorry, Jill. I shouldn't have given you that responsibility.
Captain, you finished an incredibly dangerous battle, and we had the ship to a state where it wouldn't be sinking. You were completely justifiably getting some rest. This is not your fault.
Yeah, I think you see Hish kind of look away, and it's almost like his fear, you can sort of tell his fear is just completely blocking everything out. And I think he goes to stand up and he says, I appreciate it, Ulman, but I can't. I need to go talk to Talia.
Yes.
Let me know if anything changes, I guess.
Ulman then looks over at Jill. Jill, could we chat in the kitchen? I don't want to judge you. I just actually want to see you. It's been a while.
She doesn't say anything, but she kind of like pushes herself off of the mast where she had been leaning against and kind of just walks in that direction.
Okay. And Jill, with since you had been leaning up against the mast feels comforting in a way for you. It's like when you've had a hard day and a cat hops on your lap and just kind of like nuzzles in. Like, it was very much like an almost reassuring warmth coming from this vessel. And that sense of reassurance seems to just emanate from this ship towards you. Albus, what are you doing? You have just watched this, you have just witnessed the conversation between your other crew members.
Right. I think he is thinking long and hard about what situation has unfolded before him, and I have a couple of questions to ask. Is there a solid ship underneath this, or is this the ship is just now a demon, or is it more like the ship is possessed by a demon?
It is more like this ship has become demonized.
So if I were to say banish the ship, we would all plummet into the ocean.
That is correct.
Okay. Then okay. Then he's just gonna keep thinking about everything. Is the under the steering wheel is the charm still there?
There is no compartment there anymore, but your connection with the charm, you know that the charm has become part of this vessel.
Oh, gods. And I mean that in a bad way. All right, he is going to... Is the bilge even still there?
When you get down towards where the bilge layer would be, you can see that the stairs lead in, like they descend to a point, and then it just looks like organs have filled that section of the bilge.
In the darkness, I say, fuck.
Okay. And Albus, now that you are going underneath the deck of the ship, all of the areas of this vessel that had previously had like arcs of wood or any other kind of like load-bearing beam structured in a way, it looks almost like bone has replaced those sections. You have walked inside of a creature, and in doing so are able to just sort of traverse through it. And you see that the crew members that have all like been sent underneath are all just like talking amongst themselves very worriedly. They don't want to go into the bilge. They are hanging out in the hole. But as they are hanging out in this hole, they don't know how to feel comfortable here, because all of this just happened while they were in the middle of repairs, and then next thing they knew, there was a development. And then when they tried to ask their captain about it, their captain said, go back down there and do your jobs, and they don't know what their jobs are anymore.
I mean, are they going to try to talk to me about it?
I think that one of them will come up to you and ask what they should do about said thing. Let me see. Where do I have the crew members' names? The crew member that comes up to talk to you is named Garrett, who is a human man. He's in his mid-30s. And when he approaches, he says, you're the navigator, right? I think we've seen you up top. Is the captain all right? They seemed like, he seemed like he was in a not that great of I don't really know if I like being down here.
The captain is getting the situation under control.
All right. What is the situation?
Tell me, are you a holy man?
When I was younger, I attended the Church of Lathander's ceremony with my family to some moderation, and then later there was a parting of ways, a disagreement.
Well, you just witnessed divine intervention, so if you still are holding on to faith, you might want to rethink it.
And they just look, and the inside of the ship, as they are witnessing this, there are bits where it just sort of tenses and moves. Ropes that are holding up crates just seem to kind of shudder against a wall. Old buildings creak as if they are alive. This ship creaks because it is. And the crewmen just and one of them looks towards you and says, what god would do this?
Tharizdun.
Let's see if any of these ABSs know what that is. They do. At least one of them does. And you see that their face goes almost completely white as a sheet. And Albus, in a way, this is exactly the way that people should react when you bring up gods and their weird atrocities.
Honestly, all the gods would do something like this, but this in particular was Tharizdun.
And the older of the sailors, a human by the name of Dalen, ends up sort of talking to the other crew members, saying, "Oh, I've heard about Tharizdun. They say that they're the chain god of madness," and they begin talking amongst themselves, trying to find out, trying to ask each other questions to get to the bottom of Tharizdun's influence, until one of them asks you, Albus, "Well, you said it was divine intervention. Who asked for this?"
I read Jill's thoughts, so I know Jill did not mean to write this.
Yes.
Nobody asked for this.
And they all sort of look at each other and just there is an air of unease that makes the air thick with tension. And they don't necessarily know what to do until one of them ends up
So while they're all conversing amongst themselves, Albus is going to be like, shit. I'll tell you this. Watch the captain, watch the first mate, what they're trying to do. You all know where you're headed, right? You're headed to Moran.
And they all nod.
We're headed to Moran to stop a creature who has allied himself with Tharizdun. If Tharizdun is doing things like that, trying to sow dissent between the crew, between us all, then he knows that you all have a chance of getting in his way, of ridding the world of evil. So you should be proud and be determined and do whatever the captain says.
Make a persuasion check. I will say this is with advantage if it wasn't there already. Mostly because this has been your MO since day one. No gods, no masters.
No gods, no masters. 27.
So with the 27, you can feel that tension sort of dissipate, and it is met,
I'm helping.
It is met with a sense of understanding and a new sense of purpose for the crew. And they tell you thanks. They give you their thanks for your peace of mind in this. And they are going to pull up chairs and tables that have not been turned into weird fleshy masses. And they are going to get into the bottles of booze that you guys still have left on board. And they are going to do a drink about it. Albus, would you like to join them in this? Or
I would not.
Okay. Sounds good. They will offer, you will politely decline, and that is where we will shift back. Jill and Ulman, the two of you have been pulled into the kitchen. Ulman, you look at your boiler, and it seems a little bit more developed than the last time that you saw it. Whether or not you want to look in it is entirely up to you.
What does that mean?
It looks like there are almost compartments in it. It's not like an open hole wherever this fire was made. It seems like as this ship is continuing to grow and change, aspects of it are developing as well. And as you look at this boiler, you look inside expecting to see this still mounded boil that just seems to exhibit heat, and instead it's like there are veins that are very thin and interlaced in a lattice formation along the bottom, and when you put your hand into it, you can feel that there is heat coming from it. And then there are 4 separate bone spars that seem to come out into the upper boiler plate that are creating almost like a tray, where if you put some sort of thing in it, that they could rest on those bones.
Have y'all ever read the Canterbury Tales? The entrance to the Canterbury Tales?
No.
A long ass time ago.
Because I'm getting some big old Cook vibes.
Ooh.
It's nasty. It's nasty, y'all.
I'm sure
Ulman,
it's
like,
fine.
Twitches for a moment and then settles back into his composure and reaches into a cabinet and like looks back at you. Have you taken a seat at the table, or are you just awkwardly standing?
Is there a table?
There is a table. There is a table, and there are chairs. It seems like they are not part of the ship, and so when the ship changed, they did not change.
Okay. Yeah, I think she's like kind of running her hand along everything, but then she will eventually kind of like sit down at the table.
Then, as you sit down, Ulman like comes over with a small plate of like dark chocolate truffles that he's made. And he's like, "Feel free to snack on those. I am gonna finish up the fish I was preparing." How are you, Jill? How is Jill doing? And he moves back towards the stove.
Never been better, Ulman, she says as she just kind of uses her finger to like drag along the plate, just kind of moving the truffles. Not really picking one up.
That sounded very convincing. I suppose it's not a great question.
No, no. I'm sorry. That was impolite of me. You asked a sincere question and I'm not okay. I'm sure that's apparent, but well, are any of us really okay? I guess, you know?
Do you want to tell me about it?
I think she'll just kind of like look around the kitchen and then just gesture.
I mean, there had to be something leading up to this, right?
Yeah, I am. Well, Umberly destroyed our ship. And so I thought, what better way to piss her off than to get someone else to fix it. And perhaps that was the wrong headspace to go about doing such a thing, even if I was trying to help.
All right, so we don't write contracts angry. Lesson learned. He talks to me a lot. Or he tries to. I'm sure he does the same for you.
Occasionally.
I've been trying to explain to Ham why I don't really like him, but when you have no concept of morality, like, how do you explain ideals to someone? How do you explain what trying to help in a good way is and trying to help in a bad way is?
I wouldn't have the slightest clue.
The two of you hear a splashing sound outside of the ship, and from the window you can see that your vessel has begun to move.
Where is it going? Can I get a sense of like what direction it's heading in?
It is heading south.
Likely to our destination? Its name is Triumph, by the way.
Oh, well, I suppose that makes sense. That okay, triumph. Yep.
And Jill, as you say the name aloud, you feel as if the ship is pleased.
Did you feel that?
Did I sense that?
No.
No, I didn't.
Must have been the wind. You are being entirely too gracious to me after what I've done. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this from you or for anyone else.
I mean, I did want to repay you for that hug earlier. It was very nice and it was very comforting. You had no way to know what I had been through, but it was good to know you were here and all right.
I thought you might have, that you could have, yeah. I'm glad you're back safe, is all.
And he comes over with a plate of seared greens with a nice white tilapia that's been like the skin is grilled to a nice crispy and it's got a nice sear on the meat.
It looks good.
I guess I eat when I'm stressed or I cook for people to eat. So when I still had the obviating powers, I figured out what everyone's favorite foods were while we were on the ship. So I knew what to make, but I don't often get the chance. I guess I wanted to make sure you knew that I'm here to help you. You're my friend, Jill. And, I feel some responsibility in some way for both of our misfortunes with Tharizdun, in that, I, without much argument, let you be resurrected in a strange, terrifying temple of a cult. We went down that whole spiral staircase. I should have gotten an inkling by then, but you're running hot on emotions.
Well, I mean, what? You don't seem the type of person who would leave someone's body on the beach to be picked apart by seagulls. So,
well,
you did the only thing you thought you could do in the moment, and I'm well,
we're both entirely too tied up with the gods.
Well, you've shown me more mercy than I showed you in the same situation. If memory served me correctly, I threw you into a tree.
I choose not to hold any grudges. Life is too short, With that, he looks off distractedly for a moment and looks back to you, and I don't know. I want you to be able to trust me with whatever you're going through because I want to be able to help you. I don't feel like this, and he kind of gestures to the ship, comes from a good place or a one-off request. I don't know. And I just want to make sure that you're okay, because, well, I guess if I lose you completely before I get us out from under Tharizdun, then I have kind of failed. You see that his eyes are like welling up as he's saying this. He's trying really hard not to just like have them well over and be openly crying.
I think she'll like, if you have like a hand on the table or something, I think she'll like place her hand on top of yours, and we'll say, I'll be fine. You won't lose me. I can, I'll be fine.
Ulman nods and uses his other hand to wipe at his eyes. I was very excited to tell Albus and you that I told Umberly and Tharizdun to shove it at the same time.
So, you did see her then?
Oh yeah, she was really angry. He looks down and he pulls up his shirt a bit, and in the middle of his stomach there are 3 large scars of like pierce marks.
What did she?
She stabbed me through with her trident, and then had a flock of seagulls feed on me. But, you know, she accused me of not talking to her, which I haven't, because, you know, the whole not knowing what that is and not wanting to deal with any gods, especially how deep we've already gone. I did call out to her when I was captured by the Sahuagin, but I received no answer, and I confronted her about it, and she said she wanted to show me how strong I was. So, when I was up on that pitchfork being fed upon, I grimaced through the pain and smirked at her and said, "You're gonna have to do better than this if you want to hurt me. You trained me well."
I think she's going to just like very gingerly reach out and like put her hand like over the marks, and she's gonna try and cast like a cure wounds, like 3rd level. See if it does anything.
I have a very particular question for you, Jilfa'en, which is, when you put your hand onto Ulman's, which hand was it? And then also, which hand are you using to reach out onto Ulman's tum? Was it your right hand or your left hand?
Oh, jeez, I don't know.
Because one of them has a big old spirally mark on it, and the other does not.
The way I pictured it in my head, the spiral hand went on top of his hand, and other hand would be reaching out.
Okay.
I don't know why, that's just how I pictured it in my mind.
Sure. So when you go to cast your Cure Wounds, the spell takes hold, but it doesn't look like it changes the physicality of the form at all.
It's there no matter what I do. But I was sassy about not bearing her mark anymore, so she decided to brand me. So I'm not too upset about it. I'm just annoyed that it's a mark on Ham's body and not my dagger. because he's the one who has to live with it, and she should have left him out of it. That's completely unfair. Same with Tharizdun, who keeps trying to tempt my... And he barely holds himself back from saying, son? I just want the deities to stop paying attention to us. Let us live our lives in peace as we wish.
I found that it's not so simple. But, I could, well, I don't know. Maybe see if at least one of them will get off Ham's back.
Do you think if you wrote it up well, you could get the ship back?
Hish asked me something similar, but honestly, I don't know if I can trust myself to write anything at the moment. Maybe not ever. I just...
Well, I know a certain someone who has some really nice scratch paper, so you can pen it up freely as many times as you wish.
You're right.
A good contract takes many drafts, right? I think I've picked something up watching you create them.
I guess so. I wish I'd only taken my general practice into account, but I can certainly give it a try.
He shrugs. It happens to all of us sometimes. What matters is what we make of it afterwards.
Sorry, I'm just reading chat. My Tiamat still needs those 592 C's written up. And that, I think she'll nod and she'll place a truffle in her mouth. This is so good. It's like you knew.
He grins broadly. Those sunglasses were really useful, I have to say.
Yeah, and I think she'll allow herself to eat.
Okay. So as you are enjoying your truffles and the rest of the food that Ulman has prepared, and the two of you have a very nice therapeutic conversation of sorts, and Albus, while you are below deck rallying the crew, teaching them that the only reason all this bad stuff is happening is because clearly the crew members are the heroes of the piece and the gods are trying to stop them. We are going to go over to Hish, who is solemnly walking towards your captain's quarters, which is the last remaining bastion for Hish. And as you open the door and enter inside, you see that Ollie is still asleep. Talia is still asleep. They are under covers, and it looks like the covers are still like keeping them away from this weird bed now made flesh. And all things considered, they seem peaceful. Your chair is still propped up in the back of the captain's quarters, but your desk has changed. Pretty much anything that was built into the ship itself has been altered in some way, but anything that is excess furniture has stayed the way that it was.
Yeah, we see Hish. I think he walks over to the end of the bed, and he just kind of watches the two of them for a while. I think he thinks about waking Talia up, but they just look so peaceful. And he grabs his chair, and I think he quietly pulls it over to Talia's side of the bed, and he grabs his number one dad mug, and pulls a bottle of brandy from probably the nightstand, which is now probably real yucky.
It is not pleasant to touch.
Yeah, I think he almost like he goes to open it without thinking, and then his hand kind of recoils. But he sort of keeps going anyway after a little bit of hesitation. And he quickly opens it and shuts it, and pours some brandy into his now very cold and probably spilled coffee.
There is the only coffee flavor that you are going to get out of this. Most of the coffee has spilled from the storm that you were in while fighting against the storm. But like it's like the stained sides of the inside of the dad mug where leftover coffee once was is still enough. Like it's mostly brandy, but it's coffee flavored brandy now.
It's got coffee essence.
Yes.
Yeah, he pours some in and sits in his chair, and just kind of slumps down. And I think he just kind of waits for Talia to wake up.
Okay. Before Talia wakes up, you see Ollie like moves a little bit, and he moves towards where you had been laying before all of this bullshit started, and he kind of like thumps up against the wall and begins to stir and just sits up, seeming nonplussed by the situation, kind of like rubs his eyes a little bit, does a big heckin' yawn, and then sees you sitting on the chair, and like any child would do, just makes his way over towards you and then just hops up on your lap.
Hey, bud. Yeah, me too.
And Ollie says, "Is the ship fixed?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's fixed up and we're moving.
And he, in the most tired young child way, does a big smile because he knew his dad could do it. And he just kind of like gives you a very limp hug because he is still in the process of both waking up and going back to sleep all at once.
Yeah, he pulls him close, I think, and kisses him on the head, and he says, "You did good today, you know that, right?"
And Ollie just says, "I'm happy Mom's okay. I'm happy you're okay. And I'm happy this ship's okay."
Yeah. Me too.
very tiredly, he says, "You're the best." And then just sort of like thunks his horned head against your chest, and you feel his shoulders rise and then fall a little bit as he just passes back out.
Yeah.
And after about an hour and a half, like your arm is asleep from just holding the boy, but you can't move said arm, because if you do, then he wakes up, and then you possibly have to explain the situation with how the ship got fixed. And you feel the ship at some point actually begins to move. And with the window that you have in your cabin, you can actually see that you are heading southbound. It seems like this new ship-like vessel is making its way in the direction that you had initially set the course for. And it is at that point, as the ship begins to move again, that Talia stirs, and you see she goes to like put a hand towards where Ollie was, and then just like hits against bed, and then just like taps around a little bit more, trying to find anything else that is in this bed with her. And she steadily opens up her eyes, and then like lolls her head off to the side where she can see you. And she just brings a hand up and gives you a very tired wave. And she says, "How's it going?"
Well, things have certainly been better.
And she smiles a little bit, and you hear a very coarse laugh. It's not like, it doesn't last for very long. She starts to chuckle and then coughs a little bit, having breathed in her fair share of salt water earlier today. Her lungs aren't exactly doing the best, but she's trying. She says, "We're moving."
Yeah. First off, how are you feeling?
And with the same response that you gave her, she says, "I've been better."
Yeah.
But, and she, you see underneath the blanket, she like moves her feet a little bit. "You can still feel my legs. I still have my arms. I still have Ollie and you. So all things considered, I'm doing okay."
Yeah. Things could be much worse. And your son's a genuine hero.
And she smiles and says, "The next time he asks for pudding for breakfast, we'll both be in agreement."
Yeah, that gets a smile from Hish. And as delicately as possible, without waking Ollie up, I think he's going to sort of move him back into the bed.
I will say, for the sake of this being the one win that Hish like feels like they get today, you expertly lay the child back down into the bed. This isn't the first time. This won't be the last time.
Yeah.
You have proficiency in dad skills, so
I'm gonna write that down. He moves around back to Talia's side of the bed, and yeah, trust me, Phoenix Vic, I'm trying not to. He moves over to Talia's side of the bed, and I think he crouches down next to her and says, "Listen, I know you've been through a lot, but we need to talk."
He saved me. Your friend, the... And she, like, points to the center of her forehead.
Don't do that, Talia. Yeah. He did.
He doesn't seem so bad. At least not as bad as you made him out to be.
Yeah. You, he... Well, every day my view of him changes for the better. He's a lot different than he used to be.
Well, if you want to invite him over for dinner,
well,
you can.
Let's not go that far.
She just kind of smirks.
We'll get there.
What is it you wanted to talk about? Did you paint the ship?
No, I don't know how to tell you this. In an attempt to fix the ship, one of my crew members had some divine intervention, and the ship is now a monster.
And she slow blinks at you.
It was an accident. They were only intending to repair the ship, but this is what we're working with now.
And she grabs your hand and pulls it and places it against the side of her face. And she says, "All right, pinch."
He pinches a little bit.
And she grimaces and then opens one eye and looks at the inside of the ship again. She takes a breath in and then a breath out. Is this why he can't come to dinner?
Surprisingly, no.
Well, if it's... You said a god did this?
Yep. What do you want to do?
And she pauses. Are they on our side?
It's a god, Talia. I don't think they pick sides, but their own.
And she gives a wry smile and says, what I would like to do is sleep. But if there is there's a chance, if there's a possibility that our vessel is fixed and it's because of the gods, at this point we're still alive. And she pats your leg and says, and we're still sailing.
It's because of the gods that we almost died.
And she like gives an almost weak-hearted shrug, and she says, we could have also died because of bandits or raiders or anything else. We could have died if you hadn't taken care of Saltmarsh, hadn't saved us. That wasn't the gods, that was just people. It was monsters. At this point, if someone's looking out for us, I'll take what help we can get.
Hish looks like he's going to say something and thinks better of it. I'll let you sleep.
And she pats her leg again and says, you did good work today, Captain. And she just gives a little bit of a smile and then turns so that way she can protectively cuddle your son.
Yeah, I think he's crouched there for a few moments, and I think under his breath he just says, no, I didn't. But he gets up and lets her sleep, walks out of the office.
Okay. And Hish, as you go back onto the deck of the ship, that is where we are going to go into our break for the evening. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who has decided to stop by and join us for this fun, raucous-filled adventure while we figure out what the fuck to do with this vessel. And we are going to try and be back in 5 to 10 minutes. So don't go no place unless it is to grab a food, grab a drink, grab a friend, or possibly go to indooradventure.redbubble.com. Pick yourself up something nice. But until then, we are going to try and be right back. So don't go no place. All right, everybody. See you soon. And we have returned. We are back. We just had a lovely conversation where Hish's ex-wife currently doesn't see anything wrong with the fact that the gods have fixed your ship, but Hish has also not exactly told the ex-wife as to how it was fixed. So I'm sure that'll probably come up at some point, but at this point in time, Hish, you are going onto the deck of the ship. Albus, you have just gotten done rallying the crewmen beneath. Is there anything else that, Albus, you would like to do this eve?
Did Albus notice the ship going a place?
Albus, you definitely feel, while you and the crewmen were under the deck, you definitely felt the vessel shift and begin moving. And you
What
can hear that
direction are we heading?
it is a southbound direction.
I'm asking Triumph.
Oh, Triumph says, Triumph will say, to home.
To home? Where's your home?
The home of the Maker. That is where we are going, yes?
Who is the Maker?
The author. The one who wrote me into my existence. I know not their name, but they walk amongst you.
I'm gonna cut that connection.
Okay.
Gods. Alright, and I'm gonna head back up.
Okay.
I think. I'm gonna head away from all these organs.
Sounds good. So on the deck of the ship, it is currently Hish. And Hish, as you're looking over the side, you can see that those strange looking fins that had begun to grow previously are actually moving your vessel like this ship is swimming.
Yep.
You see Albus come up from below deck.
Yeah, Albus, I think you see Hish almost like mesmerized by this motion off the side of the ship. And he looks up at you, and it's like something in his eyes has died. There's just almost nothing there.
How did it go while I was gone?
I don't think she quite understood the gravity of the situation. And she's just thankful that it is because of the gods that we're all okay. But I wasn't about to explain to her while she's still healing, so...
Right.
That'll be a conversation for later.
Well, if nothing else, the crew... I think they're going to be okay.
I didn't even know what to do with that, so thank you.
Hish, whenever we deal with this, what are you going to do? What's your plan?
I don't have one. I don't know if I can keep doing this.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Saltmarsh.
Okay.
Oh, okay, what?
If I were to try to make that a possibility, would that make you happy?
Albus, I appreciate it, but pardon the pun, that ship has sailed. I made my bed, and now I have to lie in it.
Acquisitions Incorporated won't be there forever.
Chances are they'll be there for as long as I live. However long that is. I appreciate it, Albus, but I think you should focus on what lies ahead.
Right.
Do you have any plan for that?
I have to say I don't.
To be fair, we don't have much to go on.
all been growing so much since we got to Saltmarsh. I don't know why I was about to say Starbucks. It's because I could really use some right now.
Same.
I was hoping we'd be able to, in the weeks that we have until we get to Moran, we'd be strong enough. We'd be good enough. But I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, me neither. I was actually kind of hoping that you were.
But if nothing else, Scothgar is alone. We have each other.
Hish nods, but he doesn't say anything. I think after a little bit, he turns to you and with kind of a small smile, he says, you left a very good impression on Talia.
What do you mean? What? I don't know how to take that.
Just thank you for saving her life.
Of course.
I wouldn't know how to navigate this world without her. What are we gonna do about Jilfa'en?
I don't know. Every time that I've wanted to talk to Jill, I've either been angry or disappointed or I'm usually good with words. But never here. Not when everything that I would ask Jill to do is something that I'm doing. Whether what she's doing is driving people mad, or if she's dealing with powers that she doesn't understand, I don't have legs to stand on.
It's a tough position to be in. And I get the feeling she's not telling us everything.
No, she's not. But there are things there that she would never come forward with. Things that I'm not privy to say.
I understand. Do you think she'll see the cause or the effects of her actions?
I hope not. Because we may not survive them. I'm hoping that whenever we get to Moran, whenever we find Skafka, and we see just what her god thinks of followers who no longer serve him, or no longer please him, I'm hoping we can get through to her there. But I don't think I'm in a position to confront her anymore.
I mean, I'm not either.
You're still her friend, aren't you?
Yes. But I don't think I can.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to try. I'm not going to ask any of you to do anything that you don't want to do.
I don't know what I want to do, Albus. I don't know if I can see you guys to the end of the line. This whole time, you guys have been acting like you have nothing to lose, and I have too. But the reality is, I have a lot to lose. I may not have a lot left, but what I do have left is my entire world. And I can't wait around for Jill to see what she's doing, what her god is doing. I can't. I've already put my family in enough danger as it is. Because I've been careless. And it really feels like no matter what I do, I can't catch a break. You try to do something right, or you try to take a break and let someone else take the reins, and it doesn't matter. But sometimes I think maybe if I led a simpler life, things wouldn't be this way. Don't get me wrong, you guys are my friends. And I want to see you guys accomplish what you set out to do. I want to see you guys grow and vanquish those parts of darkness that loom over you, but I don't know if I could be a part of that. Is that selfish?
It's not selfish if you're thinking of others. And you don't have to be an Albus to know what you are always thinking of.
Yeah.
Do you want to leave? Do you want to get them somewhere safe? Now.
Well, I think we're about as safe as we're gonna get for the moment. The ship hasn't turned itself inside out trying to swallow us whole, so that gives me a little comfort.
As comfortable as you can be here.
What would you do?
If I had family that I wanted to keep safe, while a friend was doing something dangerous at the behest of a god, and another friend was driving me to go kill his ancient enemy, I would make sure that they were safe first.
But you understand, I can't just leave them.
Do you believe that their safest place is with you?
I did. But you make a good point. I don't think they are very safe with me.
My opinion, given our situation at hand, is that they're safest here. Because anywhere else, we have another god who already tried to take her once. And at least here she's somewhat safe.
He very slowly nods. So I take my family to the end of the line. And then, what if you're right? What if we can't handle what's waiting for us? I don't want them to get caught in any kind of disaster or crossfire.
Do you have a map?
He nods. I think he has one near the... I know it's not called a steering wheel. What is it called?
The helm.
Yeah, he has one at the helm. I think he leads you over there and kind of spreads it flat.
Is there a super like great suburb area outside of Moran where no tentacle fish or vengeful sea bitches can get them?
If you're looking for a small suburb off of Moran, look no further than Ristavin. Ristavin is a small mainland city off of one of the longer roads that leads east from Moran. And once you arrive there, it would be relatively easy to then travel to Ristavin. Ristavin. Ristavin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that one.
Send them there, somewhere more mainland, somewhere far away from Scothgar.
I'm sure Talia would be happy to be away from the sea for a while. I'll suggest it to her. I don't know how I'm going to convince her that the gods aren't on our side, but maybe she'll see the ship and change her mind.
Alrighty. So, as the two of you plot out a new potential home for young Ollie and Talia, Jill, you and Ulman had finished your conversation. You had indulged in these sweets and food. What were the two of your plans going on in the evening? By the time that your conversation was done, Hish would have still been in the captain's room, and Albus would have still been down giving a speech to all of the able-bodied sailors.
Jill's gonna go to her room for the rest of the evening and is just going to sit at her flesh desk, I guess.
It's kind of fleshy.
Yeah. And with the spell scroll of create spell scroll is just writing out drafts, and it's just like, no. And just, it's like that scene and in like any show where a writer is working on something and they have just a bunch of like crumpled up things at the side, only she doesn't have that because the spell scrolls keep reappearing. So she only has the one, but pretty much what she's doing.
Okay. So, Ulman, what was your plan for later in the evening?
I think if Jill heads out, then he would finish up the rest of the dinner he was preparing for everyone, so that everybody gets fed. Tell all the crew that dinner's ready. See where people are at.
Okay.
Probably poke his head around the ship to do that.
Yeah. And in doing so, you become familiar with what the ship looks like now in its underbelly. You can see that it is not very pretty. Reminds you of the inside of your boiler. You don't like that. You didn't like the inside of your boiler. And now everything looks like that. It's icky. It's kind of gross. And at this point, the able-bodied sailors that you have they're just getting into the drink. Because they don't have anything to do. There isn't anything to repair. The ship's moving on its own. They're kind of just like recovering from having almost died today, so they're more worried about that. And they seem to have there is a sense of camaraderie about them that was there before, but now it seems like they're talking amongst themselves like they are... like they're doing what's supposed to be done. If they weren't doing what was supposed to be done, then why was the she-bitch doing so hard to try and stop them?
Yeah, while poking around, I think Ulman does ask Ham, so, what do you think of the new place?
And Ham, there is a pause, and Ham asks, is it a friend?
I don't think it's an enemy.
Do we help it?
We coexist.
And there's a feeling of consternation from Ham. He
Sorry.
doesn't understand. Like, he kind of gets what coexist
Feeling of
means.
what from him? You think he could use a word that large?
No, but that is a feeling that you get from him. Is more just like utter confusion, and he's like,
Sorry.
"Do I
We will
eat it?
be in the same place as it. You can... Well, I guess... if you can talk to it, you can. But... I don't know. It's still just the ship. It's just alive now.
like me?"
Yep.
Okay. And Ham is just like, wrote it off. He's fine. Seems
Great.
not worried by this at all.
So he pokes his head around to the drinking crew and says, "You know, it only goes to waste if you don't have something to slow it down with. There's dinner ready on the table."
All of the crew members are excited about the prospect of dinner. And yeah, you are able to feed every member of the crew without much issue. I feel like you would bring food to Jill at some point.
Already fed Jill.
Yeah, so she's fine. She's just working on the contract. And unless specified otherwise, you are all able to head to sleep. Albus, it's a little difficult trying to find a new sleepy space because your previous bed has turned into guts.
Right. Yep.
But the sailors all offer you a hammock with them.
Float alongside the ship, just tether yourself to
Yeah,
it.
I'm more thinking of doing that. But I don't want to tie myself to a flesh mass.
Obviously, you tie the rope to my wrist. We lead it out the window, and I just sleep like this. I guess that's still a flesh mass. A goo mass?
Yeah. I'll find a spot Yeah, I'll take a hammock and not be complicated.
There is also the option of sleeping in the dinghy. The dinghy was not part of the main ship, so if you wanted to like sleep in a wooden space, the dinghy is always an option.
No, I'll do a hammock.
Okay, sounds good.
Real quick, before we move on to the next day, I think sometime during the night, Hish would knock on Jill's door.
How late at night would it be?
I mean, not like wee hours of the morning, but probably sometime after dinner and before midnight.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say that like Jill kind of like passed out at her desk, just kind of like face on the flesh, like on the paper, pen still kind of in hand, but then like kind of wakes up whenever you knock on the door, and it's just like, one moment, and she'll get up and answer the door and kind of rub her face and probably accidentally get some like ink on her cheek or something. It's just
Having
like,
fallen asleep on your document as you were writing it, there's definitely like
I was gonna say, is there visible words?
smudgings of what you would assume were words at one point.
Yeah, I think Hish is just standing there, and I think at first you can kind of tell he doesn't know what to say, even though he's the one who knocked on your door.
hello, can I help you?
Not more than you've already have.
Right.
Jill, I'm not angry with you.
You have every right to be.
I can't fault you for trying to help.
Intent doesn't matter in the face of what's actually done.
Yeah, some people say that, but it matters to me. You're my friend. And I know you were trying to help me.
I'm sorry, I was trying to help, yes, but it came from a place of selfishness too. It came from anger. And that's why it didn't. Every time I've tried so far to use this power that's been foisted upon me, I've tried to do so with the best intentions and others at heart, but I was angry. I was so angry at Umberly for what she had done. And I just wanted to get back at her. I wanted to help, but I wanted to make her angry, and, well, this is a consequence of that. So.
I see. hope you got your point across.
That's the thing. I don't even know if I did, or if she cares. Because would have been as useful as me screaming in the wind.
Well, sometimes screaming in the wind, yes, doesn't get any point across, but it does make you feel better.
Well, I let it go to my head that, well, the things I guess I didn't take into account, the way that, well, words have power.
They do.
I'm sorry.
He nods. I have a question. And then I have a favor to ask.
All right.
Oh, I don't know how to word this delicately.
You don't have to.
Why do you trust Tharizdun? And you can't tell me that you don't, because you turned to him in your moment of distress.
It's complicated, really. All this time, I have been trying to run away from the influence of Umberly, and along that way came across Tharizdun. Well, and with Umberly, I never felt particularly valued or special or anything. I just was another someone else she could take her malice out on. And, well, when I can do things through Tharizdun, it doesn't feel like I'm doing things through him. It's like I can do things through me. And that makes me feel good. And I feel appreciated. And I know it's hearing it come out of my mouth. It sounds so strange. But I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. There are people in your life, throughout your whole life, who will empower you. And some of those people will do it out of love. And some of those people will not. And those people will tell you all the things that you have been longing to hear. And they will take the things that you do with that and use it to their own ends. And when they've achieved that, they will leave you when you're drowning. And you'll never see them again.
I hear you and I understand you, and the rational part of me believes you. There's also a part of me that thinks that maybe if someone tried to reach out and tried to make him understand that there is something good in people and something to care about and something worth fighting for, then maybe it won't all be so bad. Maybe there's... And then she just shakes her head and it's just... feel like I'm going in circles.
No, I understand. It's dizzying. And you think that if you try hard enough, things will be different. Right?
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you why Talia and I got divorced?
No.
May I come in?
She'll open her door wider and step aside.
Yeah, I think he closes the door behind him and sits at your desk chair.
Yeah, she'll sit on the bed.
In my youth, I was not a faithful man. And I cheated on Talia. And that's not why we got divorced. Do you remember when we went down into the belly of the Iron Duke?
Vaguely.
Do you remember the man that I tried to take off the ship with me?
Sorry, it's been.
I don't
a lot
expect you
has
to
happened
remember.
since then.
It's been a while and a lot
Jill
has
has died twice since then.
Also, Kylan wasn't there that week.
Yeah, he leans forward. There was a man on that ship, my captain, that I fell in love with. And I thought that he loved me. And we dreamed about sailing the seas together, believing ourselves unstoppable. He always told me I was unstoppable. I'm sure you don't want to hear the details, but long story short, he told me everything I wanted to hear, and convinced me to leave Talia, even when she told me the entire time what was happening. I don't want to speak ill of a dead man, but he used me as a meat shield many times. And I did it because I loved him and I thought he would do the same for me. And he kept proving me wrong, and I thought, well, you know, this time around it worked out fine, and when it really counts, he'll have my back. And when the ship went down, he pushed me under the water to save himself.
I'm sorry he didn't see your worth. I'm not. He was a shit. That's fair.
The worst part, the only part I suppose I regret, is that I had hurt Talia in the process, and it wasn't even the cheating she was mad about. I didn't listen to her the whole time, and she was right. I wasn't listening to the people around me. What I'm saying is, Jill, I hope that your situation is different. But we are all here for you, if it's not.
Thank you. And thank you for confiding in me as well.
I've been doing a lot of that lately, and I can't say I like it.
Vulnerability is a difficult thing.
It is.
Ran away from it for a very long time, and now as we're heading back to my home that I've spent so much time avoiding, and well, this trip that I've created, I feel more exposed than ever.
Me too. But I have to say, that I do like seeing so much of you, Jill. When I first met you, you had a very bitchy exterior.
Yes, I suppose in some lights you could say that was the case.
In some lights, it was sort of more like all lights. You are powerful, Jill. But you can't change people. And you certainly can't change gods.
Okay, Albus.
Listen, I'm starting to think he has a point. But that aside, I don't want to see you go down this road.
I understand, and well, all of you have given me a lot to think about, and a lot to consider going forward.
Yeah, I think where he's sort of leaned over with his elbows on his knees, he just kind of reaches forward and grabs your hand and squeezes it.
Well, which hand?
Well, if he's using his right hand, he's right-handed, and he reaches forward, it would probably be your left.
Okay, that's the good hand.
I'm not going to judge you for anything that you do. That's not to say I won't be disappointed with some of your choices, but Lord knows I've made disappointing choices too. Yeah, I think he stands up and he says, that's enough vulnerability for tonight.
I quite agree.
And it looks like you were busy with something anyway. One last thing, that favor I wanted to ask you.
I've been trying to draft up a really strongly worded, airtight contract to get the ship back to normal. So if that's what you need, then you can count on me.
I think he smiles and he shakes his head. I was actually going to ask that you wouldn't. The ship is moving, and we are all safe. I don't want to risk that by trying to change it back. What's done is done. But I appreciate you trying. And in the future, if it has to do with me and mine, I would rather you leave your deity out of it.
Point taken. Very well.
Yeah, he nods. And I think on his way out, he says, besides, I think I'm getting used to the new squishiness of the ship.
How's the ship feeling right now? Does it have a vibe about it?
The ship's vibe is content. It is content and with purpose. It knows what it feels like it should be doing, and it is doing that thing. It has very simple wants, and it is doing them.
Yeah, I think she'll just kind of close her eyes and take that in and be like, Triumph is happy to help.
What?
Apparently that's the name of the ship.
It has a name. All right. Yeah, and I think he'll open the door and turn and say, "Good night, Jill."
Good night, Hish.
And he closes the door, walks down the hallway, and I think he pats the side of the hallway and he says, "Good boy, Triumph."
Jill, you don't know why, but Triumph sends a wave of being pleased with itself.
Vibes check.
All right. So yeah, Jill, as you find yourself asleep this evening,
Oh, fuck me.
you hear the sound of crashing waves, and you are standing at the same grassy outcropping that you have been to previously. And looking out at this open ocean, you can see that it is a rather lovely sunset that stands before you, and you hear the sound of bare feet walking through grass as you continue to look out, and you see Triumph from a distance sailing in these waters, just seeming to mind its own ship business, sailing through the waters. And the figure that you know is Tharizdun walks up to beside you, and then says, I wanted to thank you for doing such a good job today. And they have a red and white checkered tablecloth that they flourish in front of you, and as it flourishes up, you can see that where the tablecloth disappears from, there are legs for a table underneath, and you can hear the clattering of dishes and plateware as this cloth is set, and you can see that there is a fine-looking dinner that has been set on this table with just a simple flourish, and Tharizdun actually will walk around, pull a seat for you to then sit in. And then once you're sitting, he will go over to where he is sitting, reach into the center of the table and pull open what looked like a large silvered serving plate. And underneath, it looks like some sort of... It is a noodle dish. It's more of like long kind of spaghetti-ish noodles, but it has shrimp in it rather than like chicken or beef. Like, it is much more of like a seafood oriented dish. And they say, eat, 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 eat.
Jill's just gonna kind of look down at her plate. And, we'll pick up a fork and kind of, just like absent-mindedly, like kind of twirl some pasta. And
you hear a slight slurping sound. And when you look up, you see that he is just like sucking in one long noodle, and it kind of smashes against the side of his face as he gets it in. He now has pasta sauce on his divine face.
You have a little,
You just hear, like, in a very almost playful way, he seems to almost be getting more pasta sauce onto his face as he's doing it.
I think she laughs in spite of herself. It's just...
Takes eventually just like the corner of the tablecloth and just sort of wipes his own face. He doesn't have napkins.
Why are you proud of me?
And there is a look of confusion. You were yourself today. When you wrote in the book, when you had reached out and asked for help, and I gave you my terms, that I would help you if you broke a chain, broke one of my cruxes. You were yourself. I got to see a part of you that was unrestrained. What you did in Ever Meet the People There will never forget. It was real drive. It was beautiful. And so I listened. I listened to what you wrote, and he motions out towards Triumph, sailing valiantly in the sea. So I went a little above and beyond, I will admit.
That's, putting it lightly.
Your vessel is now capable of protecting itself. Whether or not firearms atop it get broken, it persists. Whether there is wind, it will sail. It will continue to move. The instruments that the one you call Albus, gave and lended, she'll never be able to find it. Just like she'll never be able to find any of what happened in Evermead. All of this was because I wanted to show my gratitude. You asked, I listened. Because if you did something so wonderful for me, how could I not try and show it? To show my appreciation to you, the author.
Is that it then?
What do you mean?
Do you only care? Are you only proud of the works I produce, or do you care about me?
And Tharizdun's a little taken aback. And seems to be counting things out with his finger in midair, then says, I was proud of you for being yourself. I'm not forgetting that's how I started, right?
If I never wrote anything ever again, if I tossed my journal into the sea, if I was as useful to you as Skothka, would you be proud of me?
You are not Skothka. If you threw your journal into the sea, I feel like I would still be as proud of you as I am now. When you were chained inside of the Sahuagin fortress, there was no asking to break a chain. There was no this for that, this quid pro quo. It was instead you releasing your inner self to a point where I had to listen. And I got to see that. So yes, I would still be proud of you.
I want to run an inside check on that one.
Sure.
Let's just insight check a gun. Can we do that?
You can certainly try.
Oh, machi. Okay. Natural 20 for 29.
Okay. Tharizdun is taking you in as your own force. The responses that he gives to you are genuine because he does not see this as a parasitic relationship. He sees that he is able to help you. You are able to help him. And when you go above and beyond, he can't help but be proud. If you did nothing and refused to talk to him in general, he would be confused because he feels like there would be no real reason to end things at this point.
I think she'll stand up from the table and she'll say, My friends are terrified of the ship, and they are concerned for me that I am going down a destructive path that's going to hurt everyone, and I don't want to lose them. I don't want them to be scared to be around me. And I feel like if I keep doing what you ask, I'm going to push everyone away.
And Tharizdun will stand as well. And he walks over to you. And as he does, he says, "Have you told them about what happened in the Tammeraut desert? Have you told them of your oasis?" And he will reach his hand out and he will cup the side of your face, and using a thumb, he will, if there are any tears there, will wipe one away.
Yeah, there's a little one right here.
Little glistening one. And he says, "You are capable of great things. And if your friends worry about their safety, I told you that I would keep those that you are close to safe. So tell me, Jilfa'en, do you consider these friends, those that you have surrounded yourself with, close to you?"
She'll nod.
Why wouldn't I keep them safe as well? That was the purpose of my gift, was to keep you all safe. Maybe I'm not the best at delivering said gifts, but you have my word. And if this form out here, and he motions towards Triumph, does not please you or your crew members, we can change it. We can fix it. I personally think that Triumph is a marvel, a sight to be behold. I understand that there are those who might disagree. However, what is it that you would prefer, Jill? No chain breaking necessary on this one. This is an act of good faith.
I think perhaps it would be more comforting to everyone if Triumph at least looked like a regular ship and maybe was a little less fleshy.
And Tharizdun just looks a little confused. And at that, Tharizdun looks out onto the bay from this outcropping, and you see that Triumph lifts out of the water and then is drawn towards where the two of you are. And Tharizdun says, or he will get behind you, and he will, with his right hand, come underneath your right forearm, and he will lift it up so that way your open palm is facing the ship. And he says, "Imagine it." Close your eyes and picture what would make your friends happy.
She closes her eyes and she thinks upon what Oliver's Triumph used to look like when it wasn't, it didn't have eyes or flesh or guts. Maybe more of like a carapace.
Okay.
A wooden carapace.
And at that, Tharizdun, while you were doing this, Tharizdun will lean in and into your ear say, all you have to do is believe. And when you open your eyes again, you see Oliver's Triumph the way that it was. No longer a fleshy vessel, but instead made of wood. And Tharizdun says, should the need arise, it will protect you as I intended it to. But your friends may rest easy and know that this is a gift, a boon unto them.
I think she'll smile in spite of herself, but then kind of catch herself and say, where to the acts of good faith end? What if I am no longer useful? Would you still be as kind to me as you are now?
Would you still reach out to me and talk to me in this way? Or if you felt like you weren't useful, would you hide?
I think she kind of just shakes her head and kind of shrugs her shoulders, just in a I don't know sort of gesture.
And Tharizdun then pulls you close and embraces you into a hug and says, you need not worry. You have already proven your worth. And he puts his forehead against yours and says, and for that I am thankful.
Are you sure I'm not just a meat shield?
And he looks at you and says, Jilfa'en Lyrandar, I provided you an entire ship made of meat. And you asked for a carapace. You are more than a meat shield. You are the author. He'll give you a smooch.
I think she'll turn to where it gets her on the cheek.
And he kind of pulls back and then looks at you confused.
I think I need a little space right now. Sorry.
And he puts his hands up, takes several steps back, and says, of course. Gives you a gentle bow. Have a good night, Jilfa'en. And remember, believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. And everything will work out fine. And as he says that, the dreamscape around you begins to shift and close. And I think that is a good point for us to call it for the evening. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who decided to stop on by and join us as we deal with this here meat ship. Don't worry, maybe next week it'll have a carapace. I'm sure it'll be fine.
But there's still a little meat underneath.
Oh yeah, it's a carapace. It's still meaty bits in the middle. You just gotta work for them now. So with that, hey Dingo, where can we find you? What do you do?
Hi! You could find me on Twitter at WheresMyDingus. God, where else can you find me? You can find me Tuesdays on Off the Table, playing Alas for the Awful Sea, which is also a very sad time game. Fridays, every other Friday, you can find me on Off the Table as well, playing a D&D homebrew game called Tales from Thersha. I'm real mad. I'm just real mad. I'm so mad. All right, that's it. That's it for me. That's everywhere you can find me.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Reeves. You can find me at Reeves_bot, both on Twitch and Twitter. I normally run a show on Sundays with my friends, Super Sultan. Oh my goodness. Super Sultan Brothers Super Sunday Show. It's a mouthful, and sometimes my brain doesn't do it. But we start a new world of Terraria, except we won't be playing this Sunday, except I will probably be streaming in the evening because I have a massive house I planned out, and I realize that it's going to take me a dumb amount of time, and I should build it not when everyone else is around. So look forward to that. I'll post when I'm going live. Otherwise, you can find me here on Thursdays.
Ahoy! I feel gross. I feel real gross. Icky. I'm Cyber. You can find me at CyberWolf1201, where I shitpost and post pictures of my dog. I also post whenever I go live on twitch.tv/CyberWolf1201, where I play video games real badly. And I talk about lore and world building and stuff. Sorry, I was reading chat and I thought that I was muted. I got really surprised for a second. I'm really tired. I'm playing Castlevania. The archives of that go to youtube.com/CyberWolf1. KyleWithAnN and I do a podcast. Let's talk about it. We get drunk. We do parkour. We are also very sleepy then. And we talk about RPG stuff, like what the fuck went on in this game, and other things in other games, and what's going on just in the RPG world. It's a good time. You should check it out. There's D&D Beyond homebrew tutorials. I'm on DM's Guild. I do Patreon stuff, design stuff. I'm here on the Monday games. I play that guy. That guy. Yeah, Archon. I'm here on Thursdays playing this guy. I'm this guy. I'm not here. I am on Pro Restar's channel on Saturdays playing Kirk, the shifter druid in Taldore. We just started out and there's people dying. It's good time. Go check it out. Good night.
Hi everyone, I'm Kyle with a shiny new carapace, otherwise known as KyleWithAnN, on Twitch and Twitter. On my Twitch, I play video games. I'm actually going to try and get back into streaming next week because I have a break from work. Yay, party. So that'll be fun. Twitter, you can see what other things I'm up to. We've already mentioned a lot of them. Let's talk about it. Alas for the Awful Sea. And my newest D&D character in the Pro Restarted game, Finley Tamble, the beautiful, sweet cinnamon roll rock gnome wizard who is way different than Jill. Unproblematic. One thing that you haven't heard about tonight is Cape Lorelei Urban Shadows actual play podcast put out by Off the Table, available on Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp. You can listen to that and our sister show, Ecedo Beach. Personally, I prefer Cape Lorelei because I'm on it and we're really cool. But you should listen to both because they both we have impacts on each other. So, check that good shit out.
Yes. If you've made it this far, you probably already know who I am, but if you don't, hey fella, what's up? It's me, your buddy, your pal, your friend, the Indoor Adventurer, the showrunner here at twitch.tv/Indoor Adventures. We do shows like this Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at least for now. Starting next month, I believe it's going to be closer to like halfway through March. Our Tuesday show is actually going to be getting shifted to be a Sunday show. Mostly because I need more free time in the week. It works out better for our DM. We're gonna figure it out. So you can look forward to that Tuesday show, then shifting and becoming something more Wednesday oriented when we start up Tomb of Annihilation. It's gonna be a good time. My character's gonna fucking eat shit in the first few sessions. I can already tell. I didn't roll very well. Other than that, hey, if you want to see me as a player and watch as I make myself suffer in order to do so, I am going to be on the Nexus Adventures on the Hype Goblins channel, which is going to be at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So yeah, it's a little early on this coming Sunday, but like, hey, you East Coast people, it's only 8 a.m. That's not so bad. Is it? I don't know. But with that, we are going to be going into our Patreon-supported after show called Nights in the Courtyard, where we answer questions not only from the community, but also from each other. But before we head there, I would like to, again, once more, say thank you to these players for putting up with my bullshit this week. Thank you to everybody who decided to stop on by and propel us to our highest subscriber count that we've had in the history of the channel. We hit 40 subs earlier today, so thank you. That's really cool to see. And we will see you guys next time. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.